Hi guys, this is Corey. Welcome to Saturday Night Films and Animation. And welcome to this episode of Director Spotlight, where we take a look at a director, talk about each of his films, and basically I share my thoughts on, what my favorite, least favorite, what I think is his best, worst, stuff like that. And for today's episode, we are going to take a look at the director Don Bluth, who's made films that have really stood the test of time for animation. Some of the best animated films, and some not very good. So we'll take a look at each film that he's made, and we'll go from there. So in 1982, he directed The Secret of NIMH, which is basically, in a very brief summary, about a field mouse named Mrs. Grigsby is trying to take care of her children, specifically a sick child of hers who has pneumonia. And along the way of trying to take care of the kid, she comes across a mystery of how her husband, Mr. Grigsby, passed away. And, there's all sorts of stuff that goes into it, kind of a magical, mythical elements and stuff, but it's a really good movie. The animation is just phenomenal. Voice cast is great. This is one of the best animated films of all time. I mean, to start off a career this high is just amazing. But Don Bluth did an amazing job with the animation. Like, the animation is just beautiful. The color schemes, just everything about the animation is just phenomenal. And I absolutely love the story for this film. It's just a very interesting and thought-provoking film that I could put on and just watch any time. It's just that good. But yeah, there's not really a lot of complaints with the movie that I have, because it's just that good. Sure, there's a couple things here and there. For example, Dom DeLuise, who does voice work for a lot of Don Bluth's films. Whenever I hear his voice, I just think of him. I don't really think of a specific character with him. So it's a little distracting in that sense. But otherwise, like I said, it's just a really good animated movie. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you check it out. After he made The Secret of NIMH, 4 years later, in 1986, he directed An American Tail. And this basically follows a group of Russian mice who, after their village is destroyed, their home and everything, they move to America to try and get away from cats and anything that could be destroying their homes. And on their way to America, along the way, Fievel, the main character of the story, a little mouse, gets lost from his family. And so the majority of the film is him trying to get back to his family. And the story for this one was very interesting. The animation was beautiful. The voice work was really good. And in fact, I would say that Dom DeLuise's voice as the cat was very memorable, very iconic in a way. Probably the one that I associate the most when it comes to Dom DeLuise. But yeah, I really love this movie. It was just a fantastic animated film. In 1988, he directed The Land Before Time, and this was basically a story about a group of children, dinosaur children, who get separated from their families after a giant earthquake, and they must try and find their families again, trying to survive this, the prehistoric age. There's T-Rexes that want to eat them, there's, all sorts of dangers, there's drought, there's lack of food, a lot of the trees are dead and stuff, so they're trying to survive. And the main character is Littlefoot. He has 4 other friends, a Triceratops named Sarah, a pterodactyl named Petrie, a water dinosaur named Ducky, and Spike, who doesn't speak in the film, but brings a lot of comedic elements to it. This is another film that I just absolutely love, grew up with it. The characters are really memorable, the animation is beautiful. Really well done film, and definitely one that I'd recommend. In 1989, he directed All Dogs Go to Heaven, and this one follows a dog named Charlie who gets in a tussle with a bad dog and gets sent to heaven. To which, an angel tells him, well, you can go back, but if you go back, you can't come back to heaven. And so Charlie goes back and tries to seek revenge for the dog that killed him. And along the way, he comes across a orphan named Anne Marie who befriends Charlie and all this. And I mean, it's a very interesting story. I really liked the animation as well as a lot of the characters in the film. The villain was very good, very memorable. Just an all-around good movie. Not to even say that the music for this movie was somewhat memorable. Like, I really enjoyed the music in this, and it's just a really good kids movie. In 1991, he directed Rock A Doodle, which follows a rooster named Rock A Doodle who lives on this farm, and everyone in this farm believes that his singing causes the sun to rise. And after an owl messes with his schedule, I guess, the sun rises without Rock-a-Doodle, and everyone's like, well, we don't believe you anymore, you're a fraud. And all the while, it turns out that this was a story that this mother's reading to her son. This is a live-action segment of the movie, the only film that Don Bluth directed a live-action segment of the film. Of any of his films, actually. But the little boy, is reading the story. He just loves the story of Rock-a-Doodle. And his mother goes and and a big storm happens, and the family has to go and wrangle the farm animals. Well, the owl comes, the villain of the movie, and turns the little boy into an animated cat. And one of the dogs from the story comes and rescues him, tries to help him out, and along the way they are trying to find Rock-a-Doodle to bring back the sun, because for some reason it now doesn't want to come up because Rock-a-Doodle's gone. But, so they go on this journey to find Rock-a-Doodle and to try and bring back the sun. Story itself is alright. The animation is okay. A lot of the characters and the voice work was annoying. Didn't really get behind a lot of the characters. I did like the villain of the movie, but the kid was kind of annoying. There were some side characters that were more annoying than others, but I don't know. I never grew up with this movie. I actually saw it this month for the first time. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I never got into it. In 1994, he directed Thumbelina, and basically it's the story of Thumbelina. And I mean, this is another movie that's it's at best. I mean, animation's good. There's some memorable side characters and stuff. There's a couple of good songs here and there, but a lot of the animation style, especially for the humans, was forgettable. In fact, I would say the humans themselves were kind of poorly drawn. Didn't really get into the story, nor a lot of the music. I mean, there's a couple of songs here and there that worked, but it just didn't grab me. And also in 1994, he directed A Troll in Central Park, which follows a troll named Charlie, who has a green thumb, and there's this evil troll witch who basically banishes anything that's, flowery or cute or anything. And so Charlie's banished and ends up in New York, where he lives under a bridge. And a couple of little kids go to a park, come across Charlie, and, there's kind of a big adventure type thing going on. The evil witch wants to stop Charlie from doing his thing, and I mean it's an okay movie. Nothing special, but at the same time, it's not that bad. The story basically is interesting enough, but it is kind of a bland and somewhat boring movie at times. But the animation is beautiful, like most Don Bluth movies. He really does a great job with the animation for this film. I really like the villain. A lot of the voice work is very, very good. Um, so, I mean, it does have some good elements to it. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's certainly not the worst. And in 1995, Don Bluth directed The Pebble and the Penguin. Um, and with The Pebble and the Penguin, he actually hated this movie so much that he demanded that his name be removed from the film. So if you watch the movie, you'll notice that it doesn't technically have a director. He's uncredited as a director for The Pebble and the Penguin. And basically it's just following a penguin that wants to get a mate, so he's trying to give this girl a pebble and, make her fall in love with him. And he and this other penguin get left from the gang, and they have to try and get themselves back. There's a villain who wants to keep the girl for himself, and I mean it's just a forgettable movie, honestly. The animation wasn't very good. The characters were a little more annoying than anything else. Voice work's fine. You've got Jim Belushi, who does a voice for it. Martin Short is the main character. Both do a good job. It's not Don Bluth's best. I will say that, and also Tim Curry does the voice of the villain. Tim Curry does an amazing job as the villain. Really liked that character. But, yeah, I mean, it just wasn't very good overall. And in 1997, he directed Anastasia, which basically is kind of a telling of the Anastasia story. Anastasia's story that is based loose. The movie's loosely based on what happened in real life, but it's very historically inaccurate and everything. But I will say that this is probably the most beautiful film that Don Bluth animated. Really loved the villain in the movie. Voice cast was very impressive, as was a lot of the humor in the film. It was very good. Very it's kind of funny. I mean, it's just a very entertaining movie. It's not too long, not too short. It's, just kind of the right length, and even though it's historically inaccurate, it's still a pretty good movie. And in 2000, his last film was Titan Ayee, which is a story, basically, the Earth is destroyed by aliens in like 3,100 and something. Humans left in a bunch of spaceships, and they're trying to find a new planet. And the main character, he joins a group of, humans and aliens and stuff to try and find this planet. There's a villain thrown in there and everything. I mean, it's an entertaining sci-fi movie. The animation is really well done. I did have a complaint with the aliens, specifically like their ships. Kind of wish that there would have been something a little bit different than just the same color that the aliens were. I think that they could have had it been similar but a little bit different at the same time. But for the most part, it is a very entertaining film, very impressive voice cast, and it's very well done. So I do recommend it. So now that I've talked about all of his movies, I'm going to just kind of give you my thoughts on what my favorite is, what my least favorite is, what I think is his best, and what I think is his worst. Because I do think that there is a difference when it comes to, saying what is someone's best, but what is your favorite. As well as, what's their worst and least favorite. You could dislike a really good movie, but you can also like a really bad one. I mean, it varies. But anyway, my favorite Don Bluth movie would have to be An American Tail. I just fell in love with the story. I love the characters. The animation was just phenomenal, and it really sucked me into everything, and I was just fully engrossed in what was going on screen. Least favorite would have to be probably A Doodle. I just could not get into it. It's probably because I never grew up with it, but at the same time, I don't know, I just couldn't get into it. Um, his best, I would have to say, is The Secret of NIMH. Phenomenal movie. If you haven't seen it, do check it out. And his worst, I would probably say, is either Pebble and the Penguin or maybe Thumbelina. And if you like those movies, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm glad you do. For me, I just kind of see those being his worst. But yeah, that's just kind of my view of it. So tell me, guys, what movies of his have you seen, and which ones do you like? Did you grow up with? Which ones do you not like? If you haven't seen one, are you interested in seeing it? Share your thoughts on the films. Comment below. Let me know. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you guys like this video, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe. Be sure to check out our other videos. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. If you have any movie suggestions or TV suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And as always, I'm Corey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.